council meeting for the city of Port Richey, Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. Would you all please stand, and Mr. Danny Fields, would you approach for the invocation, please?
Yes, so I'm Pastor Danny Fields. I'm standing in for Leonard Lord. And so, Father, we just come to you. We just thank you, Lord, that we give this meeting to you. Everything's going to be done in unity and through seeking your counsel. And we ask for wisdom, Lord. And we know that there's a lot of things that they have to make decisions on, Lord. But together as a team, they listen to the people and the things that need to be done, like the waterworks and stuff like that, bridges and the cameras and all the things that they've already discussed. But tonight, Lord, this meeting, they're going to continue to keep that budget, and people are going to understand as they talk about these things. I thank you for the police chief, and Lord, I just ask protection on him and his family and all those that serve as first responders, Lord, and they're out there doing the work in Port Richey. And Lord, I just commend them for what they do, and I thank you for the fire department and the chief, Lord, and all that they do and how they network with other fire departments around here as they roll through and respond to each other for the needs of the people, Lord, and the fire department and the ambulances and all these things, Lord. And I thank you for each person in here, Lord, that they just want to do the will because you put them in office to do these decisions. So, Lord, we ask for wisdom and guidance, and I think everything's going to be done decent and order. And I know the people here are going to be bringing up stuff today, Lord, that they're going to listen to, and together they're just going to make these decisions. And I know that together we could do it because you placed them in these positions, and these are tough positions. And I just want those that are here today to recognize that it's hard decisions to make, but they're the people for the job, the men and women, Lord, to govern Port Richey. And I thank you that I get to stand in with the county commissioners too and talk about Port Richey and redevelopment here and jobs and stuff like that. So Lord, let them understand what Port Richey is doing, that we're a light and that we're growing, we're reaching out to the people, we're making good decisions in every area, and we thank you in Jesus' name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Scott Tremblay. Let the record show that Mayor Scott Tremblay is absent from tonight's meeting. Vice Mayor Tom Kinsella.
Here.
Councilwoman Jenny Sorrell.
Here.
Councilman Tom McCleary.
Here.
Councilwoman Linda Rodriguez.
Here.
City Attorney James Matthew.
Here.
City Manager John Duke.
Here. Next on the agenda is approval of the council minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve council minutes.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Moving forward, comments from the general public. We got a couple individuals signed up. Ms. Hanville?
Good evening. I'm here today representing the CWA workers who work for the city of Port Richey. The employees for the city of Port Richey have worked tirelessly night and day to keep the city running for the residents of Port Richey. They have worked throughout the pandemic, kept the city running through the storms and many other challenging events that they have been faced with, so the citizens of Port Richey can continue to receive the high levels of service they have come to expect. These workers deserve to be treated fairly. The mayors, council, and city manager should engage in and bargain in good faith. We are seeking a safe and equitable workplace for the women and men that keep Port Richey running. These employees deserve a fair treatment, and the city needs to start a clear, accountable discussions of the troubling issues so that we can come to an agreement on a fair contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Pastor Fields. You're on the list?
Yes. And I already kind of was talking about that. Do I need to give my address?
Yes, please.
Yes, so Danny Fields, and I'm at 8114 Leo Kidd Avenue, and the zip air's 34668. So, again, I just want to commend you for your work. I've seen great things come out of here. My community talks highly of you because we had a crisis there before where even the police come in and the fire department, and they delivered water because we had a main water line break. And so, you know, these things happen, and when we reach out, you guys responded through the channel, and I just want to thank you for all that you do. I know a lot of people come in here and we do complain because we got needs as citizens, but you know, a lot of times you don't get the compliments for what you do, and you do a lot of stuff. And I was talking to some of the members in here, you know, I'm new at learning politics, but what little bit I've learned from Leonard and being in the county commissioners meeting in here, I see that you really care about Pasco County, about Port Richey and the development and all these things that the issues come up. So I just want to thank you for all that you do. And you know, I stand with the police and the fire department and even the lawyer and all of you. It's because we're together here as citizens trying to make this a better place to live for Florida and for Port Richey. So, I mean, I just got to honor you because I give honor where honor's due. And I say that from my heart. Not because Leonard told me to, because I've got to meet some of you and talk to you, and getting to know me. And so when I come in here, of course, you know, this is new for me, so I told you I was nervous. But as I get to listen at you talk and work together and make decisions, it gives me hope in my government. It gives me hope in you, and as a Floridian, as a new Port Richey or Port Richey citizen, because I do work in both areas. So I just want you to continue to do what you're doing and make these tough decisions. And I ask God to give you wisdom. He did, so thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Fields. I have no one else signed up. Before moving along, anyone else would like? Seeing no one, we're going to continue on with comments from our city manager, Mr. Duke.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Just want to bring you up to date on where we are with responding to the smoke testing. We sent out over 40 letters to private property owners that had smoke visible on their property, meaning they had a leak in the system on their side. We're working with property owners now. Some of them have already responded and fixed the problems. Others are in the process. We did get 11 letters returned to us, and so we're working to track down adequate addresses for those folks. But that project continues, and we're making good progress on it. I want to thank the Public Works team for, if you haven't seen it, I know you all drive by it every day, but look at the triangle at Grand and US 19. There's a small triangle of property, it's city property, and our guys have been out there working hard to get it cleaned up, make sure that the sprinkler system is working, get the grounds, you know, looking sharp. So I really appreciate their work. There's other spots that we're going to be moving on to, but they're working hard to get things cleaned up. I want to remind everybody of citywide cleanup, March 7th through the 18th. Talked about that at the last council meeting. If you need additional information, just call City Hall or take a look at the Facebook page. For city staff here in City Hall, iWorks training is still underway. Should be wrapping that up here in a couple of weeks, and looking forward to having that software package operational. And good news, maybe the best news, the AV hardware software system scheduled to start installation on the 14th. That's for the system here in City Hall in the council room. So that's all I have, Mr. Vice Mayor. I stand for your questions.
Any questions from the council?
I'm fine.
Thank you. I do want to compliment your team on that triangle out there on Grand and 19th. That really, really looks beautiful. I drove by the day it was being, they were working on it, and my hat goes off. Great job, thank you. Moving on to comments from the city council. Start to my left.
I don't have anything right now, thank you. I'm fine, thank you.
I'm fine, thank you.
And the only thing I have is last Thursday, the city clerk, Ms. McDonough, and I attended, we went to St. Leo and San Antonio, I'm sorry, San Antonio for the MAP, Municipal Association of Pasco. And it was very, very interesting. All the cities were present, listening to some of their projects. The next meeting that they're going to have is going to be on May the 5th at 6:30. It's going to be in St. Leo, and more information is going to come on that, and hopefully get a couple of us to attend that. Next, I'd like to comments from the boards and committees. We'll start with Ms. Nally.
Good evening, do I give my name and address and everything too? Okay, Angel Nally, 7726 Grand Boulevard, Port Richey, 34668. Citizens Advisory Committee. We had our first meeting with our new members and it went really well. We have lots of ideas that we're going to be doing in the community coming up. And just really getting a good response from the community about the city and what's going on here. And the employees, we hear things with that as well. Just want you to know that we're here for you. And if you need anything as far as from us, you know, all of us members are here, our ears are to the ground, and just remember you asked, we will tell you what we hear, okay? So we're looking forward to March, and the city, in our city we have a cancer crawl that's happening, and that's March 7th, or 6th, isn't it? March 6th. And we have residents of the community that have been doing this every year now, and so as the CAC, we look forward to building relationships in the community, so we have volunteered our services to serve wherever they need, not necessarily in an official capacity, but just we would like to be more involved and build those relationships, and you know, you'll be seeing us doing that more. So that's what I've got.
Thank you, Mrs. Nell. Is there any other committee board present? Moving along is a consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is the council business, and I'm going to turn this to Mr. Duke.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Port Authority Board met earlier this month, had a couple of outcomes from that. They sent me an email, wanted to discuss a couple of things. One being law enforcement on the river, and the other concerns they have about flood insurance and our current rate and what we might be able to do to improve our flood insurance discount. And so wanted to put that on the agenda for discussion and maybe some enlightenment, particularly on the flood insurance issue. We have obligations as a city to manage our floodplain, manage our floodplain issues. That includes things like building permits, making sure that they comply with state and federal regulations. monitoring what takes place in our floodplain, doing everything we can to reduce risk in the floodplain, and that's a pretty significant body of work. Veronica has managed that over the years. We're training another person in the office to help with that. I spent probably an hour on the phone earlier this week with an expert from the insurance program, and kind of going through our status, where we are, what we might do to try to improve our status. And they use a point system. They evaluate everything you do, and from public outreach to how you manage your building permits, how you do inspections. I've got 3 pages of notes from that conversation that people who buy flood insurance right now get a 15% discount because of the flood insurance program that we manage within City Hall. Based on a point system, we didn't really mean anything for the conversation, but just for reference, right now we get 1,548 points for the things that we do. That gets us a 15% discount on our flood insurance. It puts us at level 7. If we were to acquire another 452 points, we would have an opportunity to drop our rating from 7 to 6. That would change our insurance discount from 15% to 20%. And so their staff and I went through the entire list of here's all of the things that you can do to manage your flood insurance program. The bottom line from that conversation was that there's a number of things that staff and I can be working on that basically put that within reach. And so we may have an opportunity to, and some of it's stuff we already do, we just haven't pointed that out to the flood insurance team, or the flood insurance managers. So there's some record keeping and some operational things that we need to be reporting. And Veronica and I have met, we're going to meet again soon, but at least there's an opportunity to pursue that. I'm trying to be careful not to make promises that I'm not sure that I can keep. But the person I was talking to said this is all relatively achievable. Don't need to hire any extra folks. Most of it's stuff we're already doing. So there are other things that, if we wanted to expand that, it might require some additional personnel. But where we are right now, I think we have an opportunity to at least take a run at. Could we get another 5% discount on our flood insurance? So that's where we are with flood insurance. The other topic that my understanding was that the PAB folks were interested in was law enforcement in general on the river. And so I don't know if you want to hear from PAB board members about that. Chief and I discussed that some. Chief, you want to talk anything about what we do, what our challenges are?
Okay. Answering calls for service to the city is our main priority, and the allocation of manpower has to be spent in that particular area. We have a great desire to patrol and provide law enforcement services on the waterways of Port Richey with manpower, and our vessel availability is in good standing. Just to give you a little background, we have 3 officers that can take the vessel out, which is Captain Koch, Sergeant Esposito, and Reserve Officer Stefanski. If they are not available, then we cannot safely launch the boat. We did send another officer to law enforcement basic vessel school in November, so we can have another individual that can launch the boat. We do have some issues with the boat. It's down for regular maintenance. At one point, I think the middle part of last year, it was down for 3 weeks getting some maintenance done. And when we sent it to the school, with the 2 officers that we sent, it broke down and we had to use another boat from another agency in order to complete the school. So we have some challenges with the 15-year-old boat. And it's just really having to dictate what is the priority, and that is the calls for service from the citizens of the city. And then we can handle the waterways when we have an opportunity and the manpower. So COVID has knocked out some of our officers, and we even had to take an officer off the road, put him in communications because we lost a dispatcher, and he has experience, so that further depleted our availability of manpower to handle calls for service. So it's not that we don't consider waterway enforcement important. It's just that the calls for service within the city are a priority.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Vice Mayor, that's all we have.
Any questions, comments from council?
Going back to the coastal resiliency plan, if, I know you're still researching it, and it's a path forward, but what would be the timing of being able to achieve this? Is it reevaluated once a year, or is it once you get your paperwork together, or whatever the case may be, it's submitted and then looked at, or what's the time frame for that?
So the management of the CRS, Community Resource, Community Rating System, is ongoing. We have to submit a report annually on our activities, what all we've done to justify the points, and then how many points we're going to get for that year. On a rotating 5-year basis, we are visited. They send staff here, they'll drive the city, they'll look at new builds, they'll pull our building permits and go look at them, make sure that when we issue a building permit for something in the floodplain, that it actually matches not only the code, but the federal guidelines. And we've got 2 more years before that comes up.
That happens this year.
This year, I was hoping.
In July.
So it's a continuous, ongoing, all the time kind of thing. Obviously, when the report is coming due, it's a little more intensive on that side of the building, but it never goes away. For example, we get points and credit for public outreach, so the floodplain brochures that you see here and other places in the city, that's part of our outreach. When we put out the annual newsletter, there's floodplain information in there. And the points don't dictate specifically what we have to do, but we have to have an outreach program. So that's part of it, and that's ongoing.
So what is the feasibility of our citizens, and I realize that it rolls on an ongoing basis for flood insurance, to possibly see that discounting, say, 2023? I mean, just from a timing perspective, let's assume you could hit those extra 400 some odd points you're looking for.
Without signing my name to it, I think that's a reasonable expectation. The 400 to 500 points that we discussed with CRS staff, it's not a heavy lift. And our conclusion, both me and CRS, was that this is something we can do in-house. Some of the items will take some work, others it's just a matter of gathering information and make sure we're reporting it. So I would think 1 year out, we'd be in a position to qualify for the next level.
So what do we have to do to start to move forward with this?
We've already started. Veronica and I have gone through the list of points that we discussed with CRS and formulated what we need to be working on to get those items accomplished. So I think it's within our reach to do that.
Is there any type of code changes or anything that are required from this body here, or is it like largely just paperwork and reporting and process changes?
There's some code that we need to make sure that we have, and I know Veronica and I talked about that. Land development code, need to take a look at our comprehensive plan. So we'll be reviewing those and comparing them to the points that are available. There may be, but our first take was that we already have the code, we already have the comprehensive plan. They need to be updated. we'll get that figured out.
On the piece with law enforcement on the river, is mutual aid with the city of Newport Richey? Seems like they have a boat that is quite operational, a joint control with them. Because I seen them out there once before. It was, I think, the sheriff's office and the city.
We have
Newport
tried,
Richey.
we tried to work a schedule with them since last year, and it just doesn't seem to coincide whether if our boat's down or they also have a part-time unit. They don't have a marine unit per se, just like we don't. They're ancillary duties for their officers, and it also comes along with, they're down as far as manpower as well. So it's not just us, it's, other agencies that don't have law enforcement officers available, so you have to pick your priorities.
Any other comments from the council?
No, thank
Next on our agenda is old business. I'll start with Mr. McLary.
I have nothing, thank you.
I'm good, thank you. Nothing, thank you.
Anyone else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And we will take a 5-minute break.